The defendant evaded for approximately 300
Did he even
yards.
tell him to stop?
So, but he was.
No. No, we don't work on hunches, right? You can't assume anything.
I'm not, Judge. I'm saying that he saw the emergency lights were activated and he ran away from the police officer.
Did he tell him to stop?
No, Judge.
Yeah, no.
Yes, Judge.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Alexander.
We're in front of you today on a evading case, Judge. I want to see if you hear PC on this one.
Okay. Oh, he has a fugitive case too.
Yes, that was appointed previously on the fugitive. It's out of Mississippi, but he's got an evading, which we're dealing with today.
Okay, and he's got an open burglary habitation.
Upstairs, yeah.
Okay, all right, so Mr. Alexander, you're charged with evading arrest or detention. You're facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. We are going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one will be appointed to you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
On February 20th, 2025, at approximately 1:00 p.m., the officer was conducting a proactive investigation of a burglary of a habitation in Harris County, Texas. The officer was in plain clothes and driving an unmarked police vehicle. The officer saw an individual matching the description of the suspect caught on ring camera burglarizing a house. The individual is later identified as the defendant. The officers observed the defendant crossing a road where no crosswalk was provided. And then the plainclothes officer advised a marked police unit to stop the defendant and ID him for the traffic violation. The officer approached the defendant in the marked police vehicle with emergency lights activated. The defendant noticed the officer and began to run through an apartment complex. The officer drove into the apartment complex and the officer in plain clothes drove into the apartment complex and he was able to cut off the defendant and apprehend him. The defendant evaded for approximately 300
Did he even
yards.
tell him to stop?
So, but he was.
No.
No, we don't work on hunches, right? You can't assume anything.
I'm not, Judge. I'm saying that he saw the emergency lights were activated and he ran away from the police officer.
Did he tell him to stop?
No, Judge.
Yeah, no probable cause. Gentlemen, both of you are charged with evading arrest or detention. You're facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. We are going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one will be appointed to you. Okay.
On February 20th, 2025, the officer dispatched to First Baptist Church. A caller stated that a white pickup truck parked behind the Baptist Church and two Hispanic males exited the truck and were walking around the property. The officer arrived on scene and observed one of the ground level windows opened and a window air conditioner unit pushed in on the inside of the building. The officers then observed two Hispanic males exit the doors on the west side of the building. The defendants then turn and look at the officers and then run in the opposite direction for approximately 30 yards to C Street, run an additional 20 yards to First Street, and then turn and run an additional 30 to 40 yards. Due to the circumstances of the incidents indicating this possible burglary in progress, with fleeing suspects who could have been armed, the officers drew their duty pistol and gave defendant Love Jr. several commands to get on the ground and allow him time to comply. He disregarded the command, so the officer took defendant Love Jr. to the ground. Defendant Love III ran around the building and then subsequently followed commands to lay on the ground. They were both contained. Defendant Love Jr. stated that they panicked, so they ran. The officer stated, "You looked right at me and knew I was a cop, but you still ran," to which the defendant stated, "I know, bro, it wasn't the right thing to do, sir."
Your Honor.
They look at the cop and they run.
Yes, sir.
Cops never tell them to stop. And what are they doing wrong? I guess, what is this, Minority Report? You know what I mean?
I don't have anything additional to say.
Guys, be careful. You know what I mean? How old are you, sir?
18.
You gotta be careful, man. When you start racking up convictions, life doesn't get easier, man. It gets so much more difficult. And the more convictions you rack up, you're only 18, man. Life doesn't get easier. You get bigger, fatter, you lose hair. It doesn't get easier. And the more convictions you get, the worse you make life. Life is all about money. And if you have money, then life is great. And you only get it with one thing. This or this. Hard work or knowledge. Going around picking up cases, that's not the right way. Don't pollute. Do you understand?
Sir.
I'm going to find no probable cause on both of your cases.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Take a seat. Good morning, Miss Mary. Ma'am, you're charged with driving while intoxicated. You're facing up to 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine. We are going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you, ma'am. Okay.
Mr. Honor, on Sunday, February 23rd, 2025, officers observed a vehicle hit a curb median while traveling eastbound at the 10,500 Almeda Genoa Road in Harris County, Texas. A traffic stop was conducted. The officer smelled a strong odor of an alcoholic beverage on her breath and observed her to have glassy eyes. The defendant admitted to drinking the White Tequila Sunrise alcoholic beverage. SMSTs were conducted. It was a 6 out of 6 on the H but they transported her to JPC for the other test due to the rainy weather and the defendant being wearing heels. She then at JPC refused the rest of the SMSTs and blood warrants.
Okay. Miss Mary, I'm going to find that there's sufficient probable cause to go forward with the case. Have you run her to see if she has any priority to be eyes and if she has a license? Please. Miss Mary, I'm going to, like I said, find probable cause. I'm ordering you not to consume alcohol, illegal drugs, or unprescribed controlled medication. I'm going to randomly test you. If I find that you're using either, I will revoke your bond, put you in custody. Do you understand?
He is eligible if he is tested.
Great. As long as you have a valid liability insurance in your name, as well as the license, you may continue to drive. If you do not have either, then you may not drive. Because you have a lawyer, I will waive your appearance. You don't have to waste your time coming to court, but you must stay in touch with counsel and they'll tell you if and when you have to come back to court. If they tell me they can't get a hold of you because you've gone AWOL, I will issue a warrant for your arrest. Don't pick up any new case. All right? For now, I'll have you sign a resale. Victoria will have you get with Felicia if your bond conditions, then you're free to go, man. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Or Rachel Gutierrez. Ms. Gutierrez, you're charged with driving while intoxicated. You're facing up to 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you now.
On February 23rd, 2025, at approximately 3 o'clock in the morning, the officer observed a vehicle fail to signal lane changes twice and disregard traffic control devices, changing lanes over solid white lane markers, and then return to the lane it was already in. The temporary tag that the defendant had on her vehicle was expired as of January 17, 2025, and was voided. The officer continued to follow the vehicle, and the vehicle repeatedly failed to drive in a single lane despite another vehicle in front of it. The vehicle was also clocked traveling 60 miles per hour in a 50 mile per hour zone. A traffic stop was initiated. The officer made contact with the defendant driver, and she was identified by Texas driver's license. The officer observed red glassy eyes and the odor of alcohol emitting from the defendant's person. The officer also observed the odor of marijuana emitting from the vehicle. The defendant admitted to consuming 2 beers and admitted to smoking a blunt while driving until the officer pulled her over. The defendant stated she was headed north, and she stated she was headed home, but her home was in the opposite direction as she was traveling. SFSTs were conducted. 4 out of 6 clues observed on the HTN, 4 out of 8 clues observed on the walk-in turn, 2 out of 4 clues observed on the one-leg stand. The defendant consented to provide a blood specimen.
Okay. Any prior DWIs and can you?
No prior DWIs, and her driver's license is eligible.
Okay. Ms. Gutierrez, I'm going to find that there's sufficient probable cause to go forward with the case. I'm ordering you a condition of your bond not to consume alcohol, illegal drugs, or unprescribed controlled medication. I'm going to randomly test you. If I find that you're consuming either, I will revoke your bond, put you in jail. No more PR bonds.
Okay.
Do you understand? Ma'am, do you have the ability to hire a lawyer, or would you like to apply for a court-appointed lawyer?
Apply.
Okay. Deputy Miranda is going to give you an application. I'll have you fill out an application or sign a receipt. Victoria will get police you for your bond conditions, and we'll take a look at your application.
Okay.
Please. Now, this is Mr. Mendoza.
Yes, Judge. And we should have a attorney appearance on file.
Let's see. I got it. You are Mr. Mendoza. Sir, you're charged with 2 cases. You're charged with driving while intoxicated. You're also charged with unlawful carrying of a weapon. On the DWI, you're facing up to 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine. On the gun case, you're facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you, sir.
On February 23rd, 2025, officer observed the defendant fail to stop at a designated stopping point in Harris County, Texas. The defendant was driving and stopped after the white stop line at the intersection when the traffic light was red. The defendant almost crashed into another vehicle before stopping, so a traffic stop was initiated. While the defendant was stopping, he ran into a chain link barrier that was blocking a private property. The defendant, the driver, was identified by his Texas driver's license and stated that he was coming from his sister's residence. The officer observed the defendant to have bloodshot eyes, slurred speech, and odor of an alcoholic beverage. The officer asked the defendant to exit the vehicle, and the officer observed him to be unsteady on his feet. The HGN was a 6 out of 6. The defendant was then detained. He advised that he had a handgun under the middle console. The SFSTs were conducted at the intoxication room, which was a 5 out of 8 on the walk and turn and a 2 out of 4 on the one leg stand. The DIC was read and he consented to breath, which came back to a .150 and a .145.
Okay. Any prior to DWI, and does he have a license?
In your honor.
Yeah.
And his driver's license is eligible.
Okay. Mr. Mendoza, I'm going to find that there's sufficient probable cause to go forward with the case. I'm ordering you as a condition of your bond not to consume alcohol, illegal drugs, or unprescribed controlled medication. I'm going to randomly test you. If I find that you're consuming alcohol or illegal drugs, your bond will be revoked. You will go into custody. No more PR bonds. Do you understand? Now you have a lawyer. Because you have a lawyer, I will waive your appearance, but it is your responsibility to stay in touch with them and they'll tell you if and when you have to come back to court. For now, I'll have you go to Victoria, sign a reset. You'll get with Felicia for your bond conditions and then you're free to go.
No weapons?